Morning, another day, another wearable test. Today, we're doing it on the Sony WF-1000XM5s. Yes, the naming structure, still not great, still hasn't changed. What can you do? But as per the usual, we're going to explore all while we test out these earbuds. And we are back in Dumbo, the loudest neighborhood in New York City by number of noise complaints. And we're here to see how these new, self-proclaimed best noise-canceling earbuds do. But first things first. Coffee. Check. And this is Devotion, a Colombian coffee shop I'm very familiar with in my own neighborhood, as it's one of the prettiest coffee shops in the neighborhood. Now, this Dumbo location, which I've actually never come to before, seems to carry on that theme here in this hood. Just like in the Williamsburg location, their use of natural wood panels, which apparently are custom made and inspired by traditional patterns of the house doors in Bogota, the marble counters and wood cabinets inspired by Colombian boticas, general stores, basically, and a lot of plants. Just kind of gives it this very cozy vibe that makes you want to hang out here. Now, Devotion also claims to be the, quote, only company in the world that roasts true farm fresh coffee only 10 days after leaving origin, light years quicker than the industry norm of 6 to 12 months, end quote. Now, I don't know if they're the only company that does that, but it is a damn fine cup of coffee. Okay, speaking of design, the very first thing that you'll notice about the Sony WF-1000XM5s is that the buds no longer look like the bolts out of Frankenstein's monster's neck, like the last model kinda did. They are much smaller, and while it still doesn't quite fit in your ear like some others do, they are way better than before. Sony says that they're about 25% smaller and 20% lighter, which seems about right. It's not just the buds though, as the case is also smaller to the tune of 15% apparently, which is also always welcome. We also have one extra set of ear tips in the extra small size for people with extra small ear holes, whom I'm sure will appreciate that. And if I haven't said it enough in other videos about earbuds, take the time to actually do the test in the app for the earbuds that you're using to figure out which ear tips work best for your ear holes. It actually makes a huge difference in the sound quality, but also in the noise canceling, as it needs to be able to block out a lot of the outside sounds. Sony also has their own proprietary foam ear tip still, and they do a good job of helping with the seal. And this year, they feel a bit squishier, which is a good thing, as they form better to my ear holes, which helps with noise isolation in theory. Also, the buds are still IPX4, like the WF-1000XM4s were, so splashes of water, sweating, that sort of thing is good, but don't drop them in a puddle if you can help it. We're here at Randolph Beer, which is one of their 3 locations. One of them is actually also in my neighborhood of Williamsburg. But because of this one's location size, 5,500 square feet, it has a few things that the others don't, like feather bowling. Apparently, this is the only place in New York City that you can feather bowl. So what is feather bowling? Well, it's a quite obscure sport that comes from Belgium, where farmers would play with pigeon feathers and wheels of cheese. Now, the idea of the game is to get the wheel closest to the feather, similar to like bocce or horseshoes. This beer hall and brewery also has a self-serve beer wall with 24 beers on tap, where you can easily pour yourself a pint or less if you felt like it, depending on how much you want, and only pay for what you pour. They're sometimes referred to as beer ATMs. I get it, that makes sense. Okay, while we're here though, let's talk about the sound quality and the noise canceling on the Sony WF-1000XM5s. Firstly, we have a new larger 8.4mm driver inside. Sony is calling it their Dynamic Driver X, and that's compared to the 6mm one on the Mark IVs. Now, this helps with clarity, is the idea, and also should help with producing more cancellation frequencies for the noise canceling. If you want to see a video I did a long time ago about how noise canceling works, I'll link that below. We still have 2 chipsets inside the earbuds, and one is dedicated specifically to noise canceling algorithms, but they're both newer versions of said chipsets, and their extra power supposedly helps with the ANC and the call quality. We also now have 3 mics on each earbud instead of the 2 on each of the XM4s, and these help analyze the environment for ambient noise to be able to cancel it. We also have a more flush design for the mics instead of them poking out like they did before to help eliminate wind noise, and dual feedback mics to help with lower frequencies being canceled. Think like plane noises, buses, etc. Speaking of, let's test that with, yes, the ear again.
And if you aren't familiar, this ear here has a microphone running through the back of it, which is running into my camera. Now, I'm going to use this to attempt to show you what the earbuds all sound like. It is not going to be amazing, but I feel like it's probably better than nothing. So let's get started.
Now, Sony also says these have the best call quality they've ever had, thanks to those mics, and also new noise reduction algorithms based on 500 million voice samples, apparently, to isolate your voice versus the outside noise. They also cleverly added a bone conduction sensor which can detect when you're talking, so that it can use that to know when the voice it's hearing is yours versus someone else talking next to you. Again, let's see how that does.
Here's what I sound like using the Sony WF-1000XM5s connected through Bluetooth to my phone, and the audio is coming from the earbuds. This is what the Sony WF-1000XM5s sound like connected to my phone through Bluetooth, audio coming from the headset. And here's how I sound using the Nothing Ear 2 earbuds connected to my phone through Bluetooth, and the audio is coming from the head. And here's what I sound like with the Pixel Buds Pro connected to my phone through Bluetooth, with the audio coming from the headsets. And here is what I sound like from the AirPods Pro connected to my phone through Bluetooth, and the audio coming from the headsets themselves.
Okay, and beyond that, we have the same 24-bit processing with support for LDAC, etc. Essentially higher fidelity formats and streaming codecs for use with specific higher bitrate audio services like Apple Music, Amazon Music, Tidal, etc. We also have 360-degree audio, like we did last time, but now we have head tracking. So if you're using something that supports it, the audio will stay coming from the device you're listening to as you turn your head. It's meant to simulate as if you were listening live or without headphones, similar to what the AirPods Pro also now do. Now, honestly, the noise canceling definitely feels a bit better, but it was always pretty good before to me, and the sound quality as well, in the same way of better, but it's nothing crazy, not a huge jump, it feels like. The phone calls, though, I will say I've never gotten so many people complimenting me on how I sound on the other end of a phone call. It's a weird thing to say to the person that you're on the phone with randomly, unsolicited, but regardless, it's happened multiple times now. Even walking through the crowded streets of Berlin for work, I was walking and trying to take a phone call at the same time, and the person made a point to tell me how good I sounded. Welcome to Vinegar Hill House, a cute little relaxed restaurant off the beaten path in a quiet little historic part of Brooklyn called Vinegar Hill. Now, this area of Brooklyn that is just next to Dumbo was named by John Jackson, a developer and shipbuilder who owned a lot of land here, and he named this area after the Battle of Vinegar Hill, which was one of the last battles of the Irish Rebellion of 1798 to try and attract more Irish immigrants to help work in the shipyards. And well, it worked. Vinegar Hill was commonly known as Irish Town in the 19th century. It was one of several places in the New York area with that name because of the density of Irish immigrants. Now, the restaurant here is inside a restored carriage house and has been open since 2008 and is well regarded in the neighborhood, really, and known for their pork chop and their rotating homemade pastas. So good. For controls on the Sony WF-1000XM5s, we have the same series of taps that we're used to, but they've added a quad tap option for each bud for volume specifically. So you can tap once, twice, or 3 times and customize those, and now that 4 tap on either earbud can do volume up or volume down. And you can customize the others at least in the app. I will say though, as I do in all of these videos about earbuds that don't seem to have this feature, and that's I wish more had a swipe up and a swipe down to control the volume. Simple, makes a lot of sense. Not a lot of earbuds have that for some reason. And really, tapping 4 times to raise the volume up 1 notch and then having to repeatedly do that over and over is just not practical. And at some point, you're just way better off taking out your phone and raising it from there. Now, that app though itself has a ton of options. One might even say too many options. But for anyone who wants to customize the EQ or really any feature of the headphones, it's all here for you to adjust, which is nice. Now, we do have multi-point support, aka the ability to connect to 2 Bluetooth devices at the same time, and I, for one, use this constantly. I'm always connected to my phone and also my laptop at the same time, and it's very seamless to switch between the two without having to fiddle with Bluetooth and unpair, repair, pray, and then hopefully it switches to the other device. It's a great feature that we're actually starting to see more and more in earbuds in general, but it's nice to see it continued here from the XM4s to the XM5s. Now, as for battery life, it's the same as the XM4s at a rated 8 hours on the buds and 24 hours in total if you add the case. But considering the case is smaller now and so are the buds, I think that's a win. And also, 8 hours is honestly a good amount of battery life for me for earbuds, as it means a full workday at an office where you don't want to talk to anyone for an extended period of time, or for me who flies a lot for work, a cross-country or transatlantic flight without having to charge them at all. Speaking of that though, Sony now says that the headphones charge faster to the tune of 3 minutes will get you an hour of playback compared to the eternity of 5 minutes to get an hour. Either way, it's still an improvement and welcomed. Now in my testing, I actually managed to get about 7% in 5 minutes by putting them in their case, which is amazing. And something I like is the fact that the case, just like last year, is still wireless charging capable. And all of the wireless chargers all around my apartment and office are still useful.
Okay. Some final thoughts. Firstly, these are great earbuds. The sound quality is good, at least to my non-audiophile ears. The noise canceling is good as well. Multi-point is a feature that I will now need in every pair of headphones going forward. But compared to last model, while it is an improvement, it's not a huge improvement. So while these are probably some of the best earbuds that you can get, coming from the WF-1000X Mark IVs, it probably isn't worth the upgrade. Except if you care about what I think is probably the biggest change between these and the last models, which is the much more comfortable, smaller, and less weird looking design. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments below about the Sony WF-1000X Mark IVs. Always appreciate hearing from you guys. Also, if you're not already subscribed, please do so and ding the bell so you get notified when I do new videos. We have plenty of other places to explore and a lot of tech coming out this season. And now the earbuds retail for $299, which is a bit more expensive than they did when the last models came out at $280. But as always, I will leave the best price that I can find on these earbuds and even the XM4s in the description below, and I'll update that as regularly as I can. But it has been a long day of filming, and all of the noise today, it's hurting my brain a little bit. Going to bed. Good night.
I always forget that there's an above ground train that runs through this neighborhood. I do this every time and I always forget how dumb it is for me to do a video in this neighborhood. Train. I got 6 minutes in between each train to record the entire neighborhood. I do this to myself. I don't even know what that is. Motorcycle? Maybe. And then the train. So it's in between the trains is every 6 minutes, but then there's always something within those 6 minutes too. Because most noise complaint neighborhood, I get it. The very first thing that you'll notice about the Sony Okay, speaking of just little bikes, what are they? Motorcycles? Scooters. They're scooters. Okay. Just a scooter gang going by. Yep, there's at least 4 of them. I think that counts as a gang by the law of gangs. Wall with 24 beers on tap, where you can, here comes the train. I'm standing under it, if we're honest, so like, my bad. For the mics, instead of them poking out like before, to help, I hear a train coming. Here it comes. Oh, it's from the other direction. We got one going southbound. Northbound. Doesn't matter. God, that's loud. Train? Maybe a train? Hard to tell. Nope. It's a train. It's like thunder showing up. If you were in the thunder cloud. Essentially higher foot. Nope. Jingly something. Something else making noise? Bags. Shopping bags. No, swishy pants. Parachute pants. Also thought those were out of style. Guess not. Definitely, things just come back around again, don't they? We also have 300... Nope, train. Right? Yes? Maybe? No, maybe not. There it is. We have a character incoming. Wait for it. It's a fun outfit, though. He was screaming to himself a minute ago, but the outfit's cool. One of the downsides to cobblestone streets. Cars make more noise on them. If there were really any feature of the headphones, something's coming down the road making lots of noise on the cobblestones. It's a bicycle. And back off the cobblestones. No more sound. Oh, back on the cobblestones. Off. On. Nice. They're pretty to look at, though, which is nice. There's a very sad pup.